Welcome to Take 5 with the Top 50, the video interview series with Atlantic Business Magazine's Top 50 CEOs. Each episode, we ask 5 questions to find out what makes these award-winning leaders tick. I'm Heather George, Senior Manager in Assurance with presenting sponsor Grant Thornton. In this episode, I'm talking to Bernard Lord, CEO of Medavie. An advocate for healthcare and a champion for change, driven by a strong purpose and the desire to make things better today and for the next generation. He loves to take on big challenges, loves to motivate and inspire people and get results. He's a team builder, a deeply proud Canadian maritimer, husband, and father. Thanks for joining me. Let's get started. So, you have held powerful positions in both the corporate world and in the public sector as a former Premier of New Brunswick. And based on that perspective, which do you think has a larger capacity to affect meaningful social change?
Well, it's an excellent question, Heather, and frankly, I'm going to give you a diplomatic answer. They both have the potential to affect change. Obviously, being premier of a province with a majority government gives you an opportunity to affect change in so many areas. And perhaps the intensity of public life, there's not a lot that compares to that. But at the same time, leading an organization like Medavie that employs a lot of people in Atlantic Canada, but we have a lot of employees in the rest of Canada as well. And we are on the leading edge of innovation in healthcare. So it gives us an opportunity at Medavie to affect change. And I've been really blessed in that sense to be able to have a position in the public world, in the political world, in terms of leading a province, being premier, and now leading and being CEO of a large organization. I feel very fortunate, and they both appeal to different parts of my personality in some ways and some of our strength. And I just feel lucky enough to have been and continue to be able to work with great teams as I did when I was premier. And my motivation in some of these is the same, is to be able to do as much as we can to help our community. And I'm sure we'll get a chance to talk about that a little bit more. So they, each in their own way, give us and give me an opportunity to contribute to our communities.
Again, looking at your unique background, it's difficult to pinpoint your passion. So what motivates you and what do you want to accomplish with your life?
Wow. We're going into the deep questions now. To simplify, I look for balance in my life. There's some things that are really, really important to me, as I'm sure they are for most individuals, and that's my family. And it started with my parents, but now it's my wife, Diane, our children, Sebastien and Jasmine. I say children, they're now adults, they're 27 and 26 years old. But the most important role, in the previous question you talked to me about being a CEO and being premier, the most important role or title, if I could say it that way, that I've had in my life is to be a father. So that's the most important thing, to be a good father, to be a good husband. But I've always been driven to contribute to my community and to push myself to excel. In a simple sense, and I don't want to sound too corny, but to be the best version of me that I can be. And I haven't achieved that yet, so I try to continually improve. And it comes from my parents. What motivates me, a lot of that comes from the values that were instilled in me by my father and my mother growing up in New Brunswick. And just they taught me to try to reach and to excel, to surpass myself, to challenge myself, but do it in a way that I contribute to others. So not be selfish about it, not just do something for me, but do something for other people around. That we all have a responsibility, not only to ourselves and our families, but we all have a responsibility to our community, our province, and our country, and in some ways to our world. And that comes from, as I say, that comes from my parents. And now I'd say it comes from my children as well. So it's great to see how these values transcend generations. And that's what motivates me. That's what, gets me inspired is to be able to do more. And when I think of the roles that I've had in the past and what I do now, I'm lucky to have that opportunity to work with great people and to really have an impact in our communities. And with Medavie, I'm just blessed that I was chosen to lead an organization that was well established, strong foundation, and that we were able to continue to grow the organization and build an even better future for the organization.
How is Medavie leveraging innovation to be an industry leader?
Well, innovation is one of our core values. So at Medavie, we have a clear mission. I like to call as well our clear purpose, which is to improve the well-being of Canadians. And our vision, we see ourselves as a leading and trusted health solutions partner. But we excel by living our values, and our values are to be caring, to be accountable, to be responsive, to be innovative, and to be community minded. So as you can see, innovation is one of our core values at Medavie, and it's important. It has to be part of our DNA in everything that we do. And that's true through our Blue Cross, Medavie Blue Cross operations. And what we have done in recent years, we've invested a lot of money in and made significant investments in our systems to be what I call is to be fresh, to be friendly, to be reliable, to be efficient, to be simple, to be human in helping people access their benefits and get what they need, and supporting employers. And as well, we manage government programs, so supporting governments. So we've made significant investments in digital technology, and that will continue. But innovation is not just technology. Innovation is not just, iPhone 17 or the next version of whatever. Innovation is also changing the way we think. And when we look at healthcare and the needs for healthcare in the upcoming decade and beyond, we all need to think of certain things differently. There is going to be a growing demand for healthcare because of an aging population. At the same time, it's already here. We see a shortage of healthcare human resources because they're also getting older. And there's new treatment, new medication. And on top of that, you have a pandemic and governments that may eventually run out of money because they've had to borrow a lot of money during the pandemic to help people. So when you think of all of that, innovation also means thinking differently, addressing older problems and finding newer solutions, and getting ready for the new problems that are coming. That, to me, is also innovation. So it's not only the technology. We've invested heavily in technology and providing digital solutions to a lot of things that we do, but also is thinking of problems. So when I think of healthcare in our communities, how we've been able to combine emergency medical care with the 911 ambulance services we manage, but take, for example, specifically in New Brunswick, how we've incorporated that with the extramural program. So we're big believers in mobile integrative care in the community. And that's one way to innovate, to find new solutions. So that eases pressure on hospitals, on emergency departments. It provides a way to bring the service and the care where patients are, rather than bringing the patients to the hospital or to see whoever they need to see. And that's just an example of innovation. So at Medavie, innovation is a core value for us, and it's how we integrate new technology, new solutions, digital solutions, but as well, how do we also change and evolve the way that we think and how we are a trusted partner with the people that we serve.
When clients reach out to use Medavie services, it's because they have a particular healthcare need and sometimes critical care needs. Your long-term vision is to continue expanding the scope of your operations and offerings. How will Medavie achieve that growth agenda without losing the personal touch that's integral to the health benefits industry?
That's an excellent question, Heather. And we need to maintain that human component of what we do, even as we invest more in digital technology. And that's why the mission and the vision that I've described, our values, are central to what we do and who we are. And at Medavie, we're extremely fortunate. We have over 7,000 people that work in the organization. And for the most part, they're aligned with our mission, our vision, and they've adopted our values, and our values are their values. The reason they are the values of Medavie is because of the values of this over 7,000 people that work with Medavie. But one thing that's important about our organization is the way that we're structured. And because we are a non-for-profit organization, but we're very commercially focused non-for-profit organization. We've been around for well over 75 years, one way or another, from our Blue Cross operations. And we look at the future, and we always take a long-term view. We know we need to be there for our customers for years to come. So when people come to us and they purchase life insurance through our subsidiary of Medavie Blue Cross Life, or they purchase some of our longer term products, we know we need to be there for them. As well, the fact that we don't have shareholders, so we're not looking at paying a higher dividend next quarter. So we can build a solid foundation for the future. And when we see some of the challenges out there for healthcare, as I mentioned before, the demographics, how they're changing, how we're facing a tsunami of aging population that will want, need, and deserve great care, we want to be part of that solution. And we see it as, and I see it as, one of the great challenges of this generation is how do we provide the care and the services that the aging population will need, and do it in the way that everyone can afford. So how can we provide that right care at the right time at the right cost, if you will? And we view ourselves as part of that solution. We're not the only solution, we're not the only component, but we want to be part of that solution to make sure that patients and citizens and Canadians have better care. So that's how we view our role in how we want to continue to grow in the future. And that means, in essence, if I was to simplify that to three things, is we want to increase our digital investments. We want to strengthen our partnerships with the individuals, the groups, and the governments that we do business with, and as well as to be very focused on the people that we serve. Everything that we do, how we think of our programs, how we develop new products and services, we put the people that we serve at the center. So being more customer-centric, friendly, that human component is critical for us. There's really a balance that is needed when, I think it's true in all sectors and industries, but even more so in healthcare, that yes, we understand the role that technology can play in new medication and new systems. That's very important, but we cannot lose sight of that human component, that human touch that is required, that communication that is required. Even when we do things virtually, there has to be that human connection.
You believe that the role of a leader is to bring people together and bring out the best of people. So, as a CEO leading more than 7,000 employees, how does that principle play out in your day-to-day work? And what did COVID show you about the people who work for Team Medavie?
Yeah, good question. It's central to our success. Having an engaged and talented workforce is a key cornerstone for us at Medavie, and these are not just words that I'm saying now. It's part of our strategy. It's one of our cornerstones of success. And what I've seen in the last year and a half, and was there before, but the pandemic just reaffirmed to all of us at Medavie that there is an alignment of values and purpose. And I think leadership is a lot easier, and bringing people together is easier when there's a common sense of purpose, that we're coming together to do something. Of course, people come to Medavie because they want a job. People need to feed their families. They want to pay for their children's education, to help their parents, or plan for their retirement, or just have money to travel and do exciting things in life. We understand that. But people have choices. And talented young individuals, as talented older individuals, have choices. They don't have to work for Medavie. They could work somewhere else. So I want to make sure that when they choose to work for Medavie, is because not only do we provide a good, solid work environment, but there's an alignment on the purpose. And our purpose is to be a key, as I mentioned, is to be a key member of our communities in terms of improving the well-being of Canadians. And the fact that there's alignment, that makes it easier to lead. And I think CEOs and people in leadership positions, we have an obligation to make sure that there's a clear strategy that is understood by all that are involved in the execution of that strategy. But as well, we have a role to motivate, to inspire, to lead by example, and as well help in the execution of that strategy. What I've seen in the last 18 months and what the pandemic has taught us is that relationship with our team members is extremely important. And frankly, we learned a few lessons in the pandemic that communicating more with our employees was essential in a time of crisis, which we have done and continue to do through the pandemic, but that we will continue to do beyond that. We were communicating before, but we just raised it to another level. We made a decision early on in the pandemic that we would do absolutely everything to keep all our employees. And early in the pandemic, there were some rough patches where we could have let go a few hundred people. We decided to keep everybody on the payroll. Everyone remained productive. We found things for them to do. There was part of our business that was soft at the start of the pandemic. But it was important for us to maintain that connection because I feel that our employees and our team members are there when we need them, and we needed to be there for them when they needed us. And more importantly, collectively, the management, all our employees, our team members, we needed to be there for the people that we served. And that was that glue that kept everyone focused and keeps everyone focused through this pandemic, because as a health organization, where we're going through a health pandemic, people depend on us. Governments depend on us. Employers depend on us. Our members depend on us. Individuals depend on us. And we have to be there. So the other thing that we've learned is that we can be more flexible. We can be as productive, but more flexible as an organization. So some of the things that we have done early on to adapt to the pandemic, the changing working environment, allowing people to work from home, is something that we want to maintain. And as long as we can maintain productivity and security of our systems, of course, we want to allow our employees to have as much flexibility as possible. But of course, that depends on the type of work that they do. If you're a paramedic working for Medavie, of course, you have to be in the ambulance and working directly with patients. Same with our nursing staff and professional healthcare staff that work in our extramural programs or our community care programs. They're still on the road. They're still there with patients. So that will continue. But some of our office workers, I'm thinking mostly of our Blue Cross branches, where we'll be more flexible than we've ever been. And we'll be as flexible as we can be to give them more choices. And I think that will actually help us attract, retain, motivate talented individuals that are aligned with our goals and our objectives. So there was a lot of things that we learned in the pandemic. And what was important to us as well, and I'll end on that point because I could go on, is no one had gone through a pandemic. I'd never managed anything through a pandemic before. Sure, I'd managed governments through other types of events and even our organization, but not a pandemic. So we were very open with our team members, and we wanted their advice. We wanted their input so we could find collectively together the best solutions to continue to serve our customers. And that's what we were able to do. And we will carry that beyond the pandemic.
Thank you for that. That's amazing. It's crazy to think that a pandemic like that highlights the strength of the culture that Medavie has really built over the years.
Yeah, well, as one of my colleagues on a board that I serve likes to say, I'm not sure if he invented the saying, but others may use it. But culture eats strategy for lunch. And you can have the best strategy, you can come up with the best plans, you can work with the best firms. You can be with Grant Thornton, you can develop the best corporate plan, business plan, but if you don't have that culture that keeps everyone focused on the plan, the strategy won't work.